for the Reading 120. This is Dave Kline, and look who visited the DoubleTree Reading by Hilton today to talk a little bit about bicycling. It's none other than former Olympian, the winner of the final stage of the Tour of Britain back in 1975, and one of the world and America's most innovative developers for bicycle races and the whole sport of bicycling, including such accomplishments as being involved with the Trexlertown Velodrome. It's called the Crater, T-Town, the Valley Preferred Cycling Center now, but also really the world-famous, world-renowned, what used to be called the Core Stage Pro Championship, the biggest single-day bike race in the United States, the man who single-handedly developed the Manayunk wall concept. Dave, welcome to Reading.
Thanks, Dave. Good to see you.
Good to see you, too. So you've been a busy boy. You're not doing the Philadelphia race currently, but you are developing something, a little thing, called the World Cycling League. Tell us about that.
Yeah, well, the World Cycling League really is what we think is the future of cycling. It's really track racing, but on indoor velodromes. And we've created a whole new format, innovative format of team racing, men and women on the same team, 7 riders all together. And we've created our own teams. We put the riders under contract to us, and we've created a really interesting, easy-to-follow format with instantaneous scoring. It's really quite exciting.
Many people think that this format could be the future of cycling in America, if not elsewhere. I think one of the most unique things is that you've got the men and the women on a sort of an even playing field, that the women's points count toward the overall team scores as much as the men's points do. Tell us a little bit about that.
Well, we actually felt, there's a lot of really good track racers in the world, both men and women, that really don't have a real opportunity to compete. And they're always competing separately. There's a women's races and there's men's races, and nothing ties them together. So we really felt that because both forms of the sport, both men's and women's track racing is very exciting, why not have men and women on the same team? They'll have their separate events, but their events should count just as much as the men's events in the overall points of the team. So really, our format is called Team Track, and it really is designed to showcase men and women racing in very fast, quick-moving track races, easy to follow, easy to score. And the women have 5 events, the men have 7 events, and they all score the same amount of points. So, without a good women's team, you can't win the night.
Yeah, I think that's fantastic. I think fans will really love that. If people want to get hooked up with this, can they find a website? Can they find any kind of video, any kind of promotional things to look at?
Sure. Our website is World Cycling League, www.worldcyclingleague.com, and we have right on the homepage a 2-minute promo video that we shot out in Los Angeles, where we did our inaugural event in March, which was very successful, by the way. We live streamed it all over the world and had some 37,000 viewers, in the first go around, which was pretty good for us. And you can find out information about the league. We also have a Facebook page, which is updated all the time, and we're sort of building a community and a network around it. And right now we're out talking to potential investors so that we can really, capitalize the program and launch full season in 2017.
So one of the things we've been saying throughout our promotion for the Reading 120 and the sport of cycling and just the idea of being more green and commuting by bicycles here in Reading and Berks County is that with the Reading 120, it's not just about creating a payday for the professional cyclists. It's also about community engagement and community development. How can we distinguish ourselves in the world and have eyes look at us and say, hey, that's a place I'd like to live. That's a place I'd like to work. Many of us think cycling is the very vehicle to do that, capitalizing on our former history here in Reading. You're not a stranger to the city of Reading. Let's talk a little bit about what your experience was like as a promoter coming in at the elite professional level, because you're one of the best that's ever done it, and you came to Reading and you had an experience here during the Commerce Bank Triple Crown for, I think we were here 3 years together, right?
No, it was terrific. We had a great 3-year run here under the umbrella of the race in Philadelphia. So we had a 3-race series, including Reading, and I think, honestly, Dave, I think the Reading leg of the outside of Philadelphia, which of course has been going on forever, was really one of the best races that we've ever run. Great community support. Your newspaper and everybody got behind us, and radio stations and stuff. It was great, and we had, as you remember, riders from all over the world. Some of the top competitors, many of the riders are still riding the Tour de France that were here. So, it's a great tradition. I think it's a great thing for a city. I mean, we know what it did for Philadelphia and how it really grew businesses in the community. It really revitalized Manayunk. You know, we were there for, well, still there, but we were there for 30-some years. And, we're seeing what's happened in other communities. It draws a lot of excitement, showcases the community, brings people to the downtown areas. You have such a beautiful area around here for cycling out in the countryside, but also up Mount Penn, and the city itself is vibrant now and very exciting. So it's a perfect way to showcase the city.
Yeah, we have our own little set of switchbacks up here on Duryea Drive, and I tell you, there's serious mountain climbing that goes on there. But let's use, again, Manayunk as an example. Manayunk, if you go through Manayunk now, I will drive an hour from Reading to go down to Manayunk just on the days I feel I want that culture of cycling vibe. Because you go down there and you see people in their cycling kits, their jerseys, their shorts. You see bistros and cafes, and you see bicycles and people all shapes, sizes, colors, and everybody's out there just having a great old time. That's a wonderful thing, but it wasn't always that way. It was because a man and his partner, in this case, this man, David Chauner, and his partner, Jerry Casale, had this vision that they could have this race. And somehow or another you looked at Manayunk and you said, yeah, this is going to be a major spot, and we're going to create this thing called the Wall. Take us through a little bit how that happened back then.
Well, it's funny because we were facing a community that really had never seen big-time cycling at all. And, of course, we were just completely, our theory was we thought cycling was so exciting if you promote it right. And we always felt like it needed television. It needed to be in the center of cities. Everybody in the old days used to apologize for cycling. Say, we're going to hold it off so where it doesn't inconvenience anybody, and we'll do it at 7 o'clock in the morning, and then we'll be gone so nobody will see us. And we took the opposite view. We said we're going to try to inconvenience as many people as possible. And we're going to, right, and we're going to bring people in from all over the world. We're going to put it on television. We're going to create, a real exciting happening around this colorful sport of bike racing. And it caught on. And fortunately, we had some sponsors that really saw the vision. We were able to put together the right media partners, and it all came together in kind of the perfect storm. And we were able to grow it over the years, again, with community support, and the public came out, in droves to see this. And part of it is because we beat the drum about it. When people came and they saw what it was, I thought it was great. And that allowed us to spin off a lot of other activities, a lot of kids programs. We created, a nonprofit foundation called the Cadence Cycling Foundation, which helped underprivileged kids through cycling get into colleges and so on, and motivate them to go beyond just what their environment was. And a lot of really good things came out of it and come out of these kinds of programs.
Yeah, so you think if we keep with it, keep our feet on the pedal, so to speak, here in Reading and Berks County, we can have that same kind of economic impact if we just, all work together and promote the sport of bicycle racing. We've got the trails, we've got the roads. Is this a pipe dream, or is this something that can be a reality? And when you answer that, also tell me, is it an overstatement, or is it about right to say that the impact that what you did with the sport of bicycle racing, just in Philly, not the other cities that you've worked in many, has had impact to this day in the millions and millions and millions of dollars on the positive side?
Well, there's no question. I mean, we used to do economic surveys back in the 90s and early 2000s when the race was really in its heyday, and we had $20 to $25 million in economic impact over that week when the riders were in town and people were coming in from all over the country and all over the world really to watch the race. And then what it also does, Dave, is it stimulates people who've never seen the city to come back again. And like you say, many people come and they want to go to the Wall when in the off season. They come over in the winter. And people ride their bikes up it all year round just because they've heard about it. And that's one thing that we always say to host cities is, look, don't just look at it the day of the race. A lot of merchants say, oh well, I have to shut my doors because nobody's going to come to the bike race and buy an antique, from your store. But they're going to come and see it, and they're going to say, whoa, that's a really cool town. I want to go back to that shop. And smart, business guys will stand out there and hand coupons out, say, hey, come back and visit us any time for a discount, And we've seen that happen in a lot of places where, business is booming because, people hear about this. And it doesn't impact so much right on the day, but it really impacts in the future, people coming back time after time. And what's happened in Manayunk. I mean, the bike race was a big stimulus to the turnaround of that whole community. It wasn't the whole thing, but bars sprung up, bike shops, all kinds of businesses took the excitement and built, got excited about it because this was a new booming area of the city.
Right, and then that continues to grow and grow and grow. And like I said, I still love going down there, as do many people. It's just a vibe. And not only that, as far as real estate values go and so forth, it becomes a very, very desirable place to live. I know many people literally, because of the race you started down there, have moved to Manayunk because they want to be in that community, that area where they have that main street with all those great microbreweries now and restaurants and stuff like that. So you've traveled the world. You've been involved with cycling almost your entire life as a passion. I think you got a bicycle as a Christmas present, and that was the beginning of the story, and the story's not nearly over yet. So, David, you were responsible for having the velodrome built, which is a world-class facility. People come from all over the world to race on it, up in Trexlertown. You were one of the original innovators, the idea makers, and you and I were having this conversation here at the DoubleTree, talking about cycling and talk about the World Cycling League and your vision of part of the future of the sport that includes an indoor velodrome training center, and how a place like Reading, Pennsylvania could become a hub for the cycling community and the community at large if we had such a facility. Let's talk a little bit about that dream and vision.
Well, Dave, if you look at any sports, that have succeeded, they have three things. They have the participants, obviously, people that are excited about it. They have equipment, and they have facilities. Cycling is the one sport that's huge, global, and big in this country that really is short on facilities. Tennis has tennis centers, golf has golf courses, skiing has ski areas, and for a sport to really build its following and to really create continuity, it needs facilities. And an indoor velodrome is exactly what the sport needs, and particularly in locations where we are, where there's a long winter and it's cold and you can't get outside. So we, originally, and this goes back to my Trexlertown days, is that, we really want a focal point. You want a focal point for cycling. And I can't tell you how many communities I've talked to around the country that have said, well, we have so many cyclists out here. They're all riding along, and they need a velodrome. What is a velodrome? How does that work? What is that? So we really have focused on that, and that's something that for our World Cycling League to really take off, we need a world headquarters, and we need it on the East Coast. We believe that the United States can lead the sport in the development of a new league concept. When you walk down the street and you ask somebody, well, what's football? They say, oh, it's the NFL. What's golf? They say, oh, it's a PGA. You say, what's cycling? And they go, I don't know. It's that Tour de France, or, oh, yeah, the Olympics is coming up. Don't they have that in the Olympics? So what's missing in cycling is the league concept. And that's where we are with the World Cycling League. And we talked about that before, but the World Cycling League needs arenas. It needs stadiums. Not stadiums, but arenas, small arenas. And what we've really focused on is that we believe that the World Cycling League and cycling in general will really benefit from custom-designed facilities that cater to the community need for year-round and winter, particularly cycling. So, but as anybody knows, you have to have an anchor for a facility. Your facility right here as a minor league hockey team or whatever, basketball team. So our philosophy and our plans, and we've really researched this, we know the cost and everything else, is to create a small multi-purpose arena with cycling as the anchor activity. And a lot of people say, well, you can't make that full-time. Cycling will never be full-time. Well, okay, I'll agree with you, but I think it can be. But the point is, we have designed this so that it can accommodate all kinds of other things. So the infield is about 30,000 square feet, so you can do concerts, you can do other sports, all kinds of sports, gymnastics, boxing, wrestling, basketball, tennis, tournaments, and have these in a small, intimate setting of 2,500 people. A regional basketball tournament or a regional tennis match may not fill a 10,000-seat arena. In fact, you don't even want to put them in a 10,000-seat arena because it looks empty. So if you can put them in a smaller arena, that's great. And then we've also looked at what does a cycling arena and a velodrome really need today? Well, we're big believers in entertainment. We think that cycling is a very entertaining sport. That. It can be very exciting, head-to-head competition, rough and tumble. It's great stuff. And to have a velodrome designed from the ground up with that in mind means that you build in the right sound and lighting. You create the infield atmosphere for a beer garden, when the races are going on, which is a very popular, unique feature of cycling. You have your built-in scoreboards, you have your video screens, all of those things geared towards what's happening in the infield or what's happening on the track. And so, I don't think there are many facilities built like that. And for us, having a world headquarters of the World Cycling League means that we really don't have to go anywhere else. I mean, all of the racers would come and live here. We could run our whole league out of one velodrome. It's like a basketball game. You don't care. The basketball court's the same wherever you go, but it's the teams that are playing. So and this is where it's a real boon to a place like Reading, is you have these athletes coming in from all over the world to live here, to race, to be seen all over. We broadcast the races worldwide, to be seen racing and competing against other teams, and then they also serve as your coaches for your kids programs. We started this up in Trexlertown. We brought in the Pennsylvania. We brought in the Olympic team. We had them living there, and we started this developmental program. I created the program 40 years ago, the Air Products Developmental Program, to put like 10,000 kids through it and produced 18 Olympians and hundreds of national champions. And that's what you can do, particularly when you have the excitement of the top-end competition. And I always say, kids don't get excited about baseball when they walk down the street and they see a Sandlot game. They get excited when they turn on the TV and they see the World Series, And when you have that kind of environment and that kind of excitement, kids will fall all over to do this, And it's a great, great opportunity to create an identity for a community. And I think, Reading is perfect for this. This is not something that you put in the center of Philadelphia. It's not something that you put in a, major city where there's all kinds of other things competing for the entertainment dollar. This is where you can create a unique identity. And if you you already have a great start with the Reading 120, and you've got all kinds of bike paths, and you've got the mountain bike trails. Why not create a world headquarters velodrome, and for that matter, a world national cycling park where you've got the velodrome, you've got, cyclocross courses, you've got all that, and, this area is perfect for it. It's easy to get to. It's, within, the reach of how many hundreds of millions of people, and millions. And I just think it would be, a phenomenal thing.
Well, we've got one of the nation's finest rail trails just a few blocks down the street along the Schuylkill River from where we're sitting here at the DoubleTree Reading by Hilton. We've got the mountains of Never Sink and Mount Penn just here to our east, a few blocks away, where the Berks Area Mountain Bike Association is now hosting a world-class, once-a-year Reading Downhill, Duryea Downhill. Excuse me. You got to see that. They're amazing, really. And then we've got all these great roads, as you said, and so it seems to me that what you're saying has a lot of merit. And if anybody's interested in this conversation, taking this dialogue a little bit further, how can they reach out to you?
Well, the best thing to do is reach out on our website. You can actually we have a way where you can sign up, and we'll hear from you. info@worldcyclingleague.com, and you get on the list, and I usually read all the emails that come in, so I'd be more than happy to respond to anybody who shows interest in this kind of thing. But I think it's a great opportunity. It really is, and it's one of these rare, undiscovered opportunities that has, I think, tremendous potential. And you can attest firsthand, and I can tell you all around the country, people are saying, "Oh, those guys on bicycles! I see more and more of them all the time," and the velodrome provides an education location too, where you can teach people the proper skills and the proper etiquette. It's a focal point that brings people together.
You've written a book. You need to grab that book here. This book, I read this book from cover to cover on a flight. It's called High Road by David Chauner, Chasing the Yellow Jersey. I'm going to have you hold that for a second. And most people might not know David Chauner as the author. Some might know Dave Chauner as an author. I'm going to tell you, I was pleasantly surprised when I read this, because I didn't know you were a writer. And when I read this book, I was totally engaged with it. It's sort of really, it doesn't name names, but it weaves a really good story. Tell us a little bit about it.
Well, it's funny because I've always been, one of my interests has always been in journalism. And I never went to journalism school or anything like that, but I I loved. I always say that cycling made me a journalist because I always believe that good journalists have something to say, and I had something to say about cycling, and I love to tell stories, and I love so I've been written now for Sports Illustrated and the New York Times, and I've had my articles published in a lot of places, and one of my sort of bucket list dreams, like everybody said, well, I'm going to write a novel someday, so I really I had actually sold my business years ago, a different business, and had a little bit of time, and I thought, I'm going to start writing this novel. This was back in 1995, and this was way before any of the stuff that we know about, with Lance and all that stuff happened. But I'd been to the Tour de France as a commentator with CBS, and and it's just so many characters in the sport, and so many, nuances and so many things that happen, and I went through a lot of that, questioning why am I doing this? What's this all about? And so I decided I would accomplish this bucket list thing when I had some time. And finally, after 20 years, I finally finished it. I had somebody read it and say, this is really good. This isn't just for cyclists. This is for anybody. And so that kind of encouraged me to do it. And then I learned all about self-publishing. In the old days, self-publishing was like vanity publishing, but nowadays it's a real business. And I went to the Amazon's division that does that, and I didn't want to go to an agent. I didn't want to go, I didn't want to go beat on. I just wanted to write the book and see if I could get it published. And I did. And it caught on. Did quite well. I mean, it's not a, knock your socks off bestseller, but I did get I'm very proud of this, actually. The Independent Readers Association, which is a group of independent authors, I got the award, Discovery Award for the best literary fiction in 2016. So I was really happy about that.
Well, congratulations. It's a great read. If folks want to get it, how do they go about doing that?
Just go on, just Google High Road Chasing the Yellow Jersey, and Amazon will come up, and you can either buy the Kindle version or the paperback version, and that's all you got to do.
Now, David Chauner, I am so glad that you reached out to us and that you're interested in what's going on in cycling up here in Reading, and that you're still a vital part of the scene, and that you're developing the World Cycling League. We wish you nothing but the greatest success with all of that. The same with your book. For the Reading 120 and Pretzel City Productions, with David Chauner at the DoubleTree Reading by Hilton, this is Dave Kline.